Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today I have a very interesting holodeck switch for you guys. So I have to thank GravaStar. GravaStar is making a new holodeck switch, which a lot of you guys might have seen around like on social media, as well as they've been doing a lot of marketing for it. They actually wanted me to do a video on this one, and they sent it out to me. It's the UFO holodeck switches. So it's that one that looks like a UFO, literally like a UFO. So we're gonna have to really see like how is it? Is it any good? Does it sound any good? Does it feel any good? Is it gonna fit in the different like holodeck boards? And overall, is it okay? So we're gonna have to go into it. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Of course, come join the Discord channel. You can always come and like ask questions or like see different things. Because I'm not gonna always make a video on like every little small thing that maybe you might want to or be curious about. But if you come to the Discord channel, right, at least you can communicate with me and I can maybe give you guys a little tips or like even smaller sound tests that you're interested in hearing where I wouldn't do a video on it. So come join it, but let's go right into this. So let's take a look at the GravaStar UFO. So we have to thank GravaStar for sending me this out. And I was curious. I mean, I've had people reach out to me about it, when they saw that this was getting released. It is an interesting switch. It looks exactly like a UFO. And I mean, overall, I'm really curious how it's going to sound inside of a board, actually. Now, they don't provide much information, so let's just go right into the sound test. Now this is the GravaStar UFO switch. Now if you guys can see here, right there. So you can see right there is the GravaStar switch, and it's actually quite interesting. It's a UFO looking switch, and I have to admit, it sounds really, really deep. I was quite surprised with how deep it sounded, especially when considering the fact that, you know, there hasn't, like, you have the UR Ice Ultras, which are, I would say, deep sounding, and these ones were actually quite interesting because the feel of the switches feel quite different compared to the UR Ice Ultra. Overall, I think this one was surprisingly like close to, actually quite close to getting to like more towards like a mechanical switch in terms of the feel of the switch compared to the UR Ice, which I feel like was a little bit more on like harder of a push. Like when you're moving the stem of a UR Ice Ultra, it feels like it's kind of like not super smooth and linear feeling, where it's like incredibly smooth but has like a slight mushy-ish feeling to it, and like when you're pressing it, while these ones actually kind of had that like clean press and feel to it. But overall, I mean, there's certain things about the switch that I'm not a really big fan of, and we're gonna have to really look into that. So let's go into seeing, like, taking apart and really seeing how this switch is, you know, with the lighting and all that.
So one of the biggest things about this switch that I've realized is it is quite expensive, right? They're pricing at like $100 USD for 75 switches. That's quite expensive. Though right now it's going to be on sale for the pre-order, and I do have a code that will give you guys 10% off. Doing the travel distance first, so we're going to see what the travel distance is, and starting off at 15.2, it goes to 11.7. So we're looking at 3.5 millimeter travel in terms of the distance, and overall, that's kind of average. I think that's a lot of the switches lately for Hall Effect is about 3.5. Lekker's being, I think, one of the bigger ones that does the 4.0. Of course, we're going to have to hear kind of what the switch sounds like without being in a board. So let's kind of listen to what that sounds like. Overall, it does sound pretty good. I think even in the board, it sounded quite deep. It's quite surprising how deep it sounded. Now, one of the things that I found really bad about the switch, it's a big con, is how to open it to loop it. So do you see how I have two switch pullers right there? Yeah, I needed two switch pullers to pull apart the top housing and the bottom housing. And as you can see there, my switch puller actually kind of got stuck. But you can't actually open these up with a regular switch opener. If you saw the shape of it and like the way that they did it, unfortunately, they made it so that it's quite difficult to open. Which, you know, it's okay stock, but, you know, if you loop it, it's going to be a bit better, and you can definitely see that the switch opener doesn't work. Pretty much the only way you're going to be able to do it is there's going to be a latch there. So the latches actually both works for like going into a plate, but also is what's keeping the switch fully together. So if you grab the top housing, so there's going to be like a little indent there, you can put it in there, and then you grab the bottom where the actual tabs are going to be, and then you pull it, and then you're going to get it open. Now I had to do that for all the switches that I was hand looping for the video. Now taking a look closer to the stem itself, you can see that it is barely looped. Like when I say barely, I mean barely lubed. You can see like a little bit where the stem is going to actually be touching the rails inside of the housing, but other than that, like not really much lube at all. Though in general, the stock the stock switch itself is actually quite decent. I was quite surprised with how smooth it was, and you don't really get that scratchy sound or anything, or scratchy feel. Very well done. And in general, I think more switches are becoming better stock anyways. I think a lot of the switches are becoming better stock. The bottom housing is closed, which is cool. The spring is quite long. I was actually surprised of how long the spring is, and overall, it might be the reason why these switches kind of have like a nice smooth sound to it. Overall, these felt quite close. Like it's getting a much closer feel to like mechanical switches. Not exactly like mechanical switches, but was definitely getting closer with these ones. And I kind of felt that with the Astrolinks, but these ones, and sorry, the L Labs T switch as well, the tie switch. These ones definitely have that feel to them, and I think it might be with like the shape of it as well as the spring. Now overall, this is quite a deep switch, right? Like the UR Ice Ultra is a deep switch and it was really nice, but I think these ones kind of provide that different type of deep sound that's not like a Hall effect deep sounding switch. Now, in terms of the switch itself, in terms of how it fits in the plate, it kind of is loose, but it still sticks in, like it won't fall out. So the way to get them out is, as I said earlier, there's like those latches on the side. You actually have to press those, and then you'll actually easily be able to get it out of the plate. So as you can see there, you just grab the latches on the side, and then you just pull it out, and it's super easy. But if you saw how easy it gets pulled out and how easily you can get put in, it seems like they're very loose in the plate, and they are. They honestly are quite loose in the plate, and I was kind of worried because of it. Like I thought they would just fall out, but nope. If the latches don't come loose, then the switches will actually stick in there, which is awesome. So that is something to keep in mind when you do get these, or if you do get these, just keep in mind for yourselves that it can become like loose when you're putting it in, specifically the stabilizer section. So as you saw there, the switch actually popped right off with the enter key. It's even looser in the stabilizer sections, I think, because of the size of the switch, which is not the greatest about this. Like, I understand the whole UFO theme, but it is quite big and it takes up a lot of space, and for stabilizers that isn't always the greatest thing. But as you saw there too, like even though it was loose, when I'm pulling on it, it's not actually falling out. So still a good thing about the switch is that it still will stay in the plate. Now going into the loud like decibels of this, you can hear like it's not the loudest switch, but it's not going to be on the quietest side either. Like I think really loud switches kind of go over the 70 decibel point. This one is going to be averaging around the 64 65 area, and that's a decent decibel. So you can have it like in your room and it's not going to be like crazy loud or like disturbing, but it'll still be a decent decibel. Now in terms of the operation force, you will have a little bit of that play in the top. So when you're pressing on the top, you will definitely feel a little bit of that pressure, and then when you press it all the way down, it just goes all the way in. So as you can see there, that is also an issue with the top out. It does have a top out sound. Now with the stem wobbling test here, the top end has a little bit, but most of this movement is going to be just the switch moving in the plate. I'm going to be honest. The stem wobble is pretty much non-existent on these switches. I think they did a great job with that, but the switch is kind of loose in the plate, so it does have that movement. Now going into the backlighting test. So in terms of backlighting, what do I think? It's quite bright, and I can see like how bright it can be, and you can see here as soon as I like turn on all the keys that have the GravaStar in there, it is very bright, but it will affect the color of the backlighting. So right now the lighting is set as white, and to be fair, Wu-Ting's lighting is not perfect. The white light can sometimes come off pink, but this switch does make it purple. It's a very light purple. It's not as actually a deep purple like what you see in this camera, but it is a purple-ish color that does affect the lighting. And overall it does get very bright, and you can see there like when I did the different percentages from like 10, 50 to 100% and 80%. Overall very good for the backlighting. Now one of my thoughts on this is that in terms of the switch sound, honestly this is probably one of the better sounding switches I've tried for Hall effect switches. I really think that they have a very good feel for typing, and the sound is really deep. Like these would be what I would call a actual Thocky Hall effect switch. And right now they're going to be on sale. They're normally expensive, but right now with the Black Friday, you can get 20% off. You have code Mikey, that'll give you another 10% off, so getting a total 30% off, which might be the best time to grab these switches. Otherwise, this is going to get very, very expensive.
Overall, I hope this video helped you guys in seeing if the GravaStar's UFO switches is a switch that you would like to use in your board. It's a nice switch in the fact that like the sound and the feel of the switch is quite well done. I'm gonna be honest that compared to a lot of the other Hall effect switches, I think this one is definitely up there in terms of like the sound and the feel of the Switch. The only issue is taking it apart is actually really, really annoying. As you guys saw, like in my video, having to pull it apart is actually really, really annoying. When it gets into the plates as well, it's kind of loose and it's a little bit awkward, but it doesn't fall out, which is a good thing. So that is a plus, but it's going to feel a little bit loose in the plates. I'll have the links in the description for you guys. As I was mentioning, you can get a discount with my code Mikey, and with that you can get a 10% discount, and GravaStar's having a Black Friday sale, so you guys can grab these Switches on a pretty decent sale. I think about 20% off in total. So go check it out. I'll have the links in the description for you guys. And of course, come check out the Discord if you guys want to join up with the community, or go check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.